Hey Frank, I'm having a hard time seeing with this bucket on my head. I swear there's a spooky thing in front of me.
Age of Sigmar Warcry, Iron Golems versus Nighthaunt. Hey folks, welcome to another Warcry battle report between the Bucket Boys and the long-forgotten relatives. For the Iron Golems, all these standard fighters are accounted for, but the Nighthaunt will be using the Briar Queen here as a stand-in for the Extoller of Shyish. I don't have that model, and honestly, the Briar Queen looks cooler than a ghost with a bell, at least in my opinion. With all that being said, let's introduce the warbands and flip some cards to see what is in store for this combat. For the Iron Golems and the Hammer Squad, we have the Perfector and the big old Ogre Breacher. In the shield, we have the Dominar Leader, backed up by the Armator and a pair of Legionaries. And in the Dagger, we have the Chain Gang, the Drill Master, and the 3rd Legionnaire with the Bolas. For the Nighthaunt, in the Hammer, we have a Glaive Wraith Stalker with a Spirit Host. In the shield, we have a Spirit Host and our leader, the Extoller of Shyish, which, for the record, I'm just going to say Briar Queen for the rest of the battle. It is way easier. And finally, in the Dagger, we have a pair of Glaive Wraith Stalkers. On to the cards. First, we flip the terrain card, and it looks like we get Sigmar's fat head in the bottom left and some large obstacles in the top right. Here it is, all set up on the table. Next, we move over to deployment, and we get the duel. Looks like both shield squads will enter the battle turn 1, and everyone else shows up in the next round. Each warband will roll off, the Nighthaunt win the roll, and decide to start in the red deployment zone. For the victory card, we turn it over and get Hold Our Gains. The players roll off, Nighthaunt winning the roll, and decide to be the attackers. The Iron Golems will place a treasure token near the center of the board. They have 3 rounds to hold this treasure, but if it gets in the Nighthaunt hands by the end of battle round 3, they win the game. And finally, for the twist card, we get Insidious Malignance. Wow. Stay away from terrain, folks, cause you could get poked by some powerful magic. This should add some craziness to the game. Now that the battle plan has been set up, we will begin placing our fighters on the battlefield. And let's not forget about that treasure token. The Iron Golems will place it as close as they can to their fighters, so essentially right next to them. And with that, we begin Battle Round 1 Initiative. The Iron Golems roll first, they roll up a double and 4 singles. For the Nighthaunt, they roll their 66 and end up getting 2 doubles and a pair of singles. Because each warband only has a few fighters to activate this battle round, both will elect to not use any wild dice and save them up for the next battle round. So, we begin the turn with the Dominar. The Dominar will grab the treasure, move around the few allies he has around him, and then pass his turn. This will then move things over to the Spirit Host. It will use the move action twice and fly all the way over to one of the Legionnaires. The host will make sure to stay more than an inch away from terrain and from the Iron Golems fighter. This will then move things over to the Legionary. This little guy will move up and attempt to put some damage into the host. Hitting on 5s, the little golem misses with all of his attacks. That host is a little scary. To follow this up, the Briar Queen will go and use the Rush ability. She will fly her 14 inches now all the way over near the Dominar holding the treasure and then pass her turn. But this does put her in close combat in the range of the Armator. He will go next. He will use the Onslaught ability to boost up his attacks. With 8 attacks, he hits on 5s and deals in a modest 5 damage. But this does keep the Armator within 1 inch of a terrain feature, and on a 5, he does not take any damage. And finally, for the first battle round, the other Legionnaire will move up and swing into the Briar Queen, once again hitting on 5s and does absolutely nothing. That is the end of Battle Round 1. The treasure has been picked up, and the ghosts are closing in on the Iron Golems. We shall see what is in store for the next battle round. But first, we roll some initiative. The Iron Golems start things off again by getting a set of doubles and a couple singles. For the Nighthaunt, they roll up a double and 4 singles. With that, they have the initiative and will make another double and use that extra wild die to keep the initiative. The Iron Golems will give themselves another 2 doubles, using up their extra wild die. Nighthaunt start the battle round with the Briar Queen. She will use the double 5 for the onslaught ability and attack twice into the Dominar. Hitting on 5s, she slams in a very unexpected 20 damage. Wow, that was quite the roll. The treasure will then drop, but cannot be picked up by the queen because you have to use a move action to pick up the treasure, and this ends her amazing turn. After those unexpected events, the legionary near the spirit host is forced to retreat, and then move to go pick up the treasure near the briar queen. The Iron Golems wanted to get some attacks in this turn, but the briar queen has forced their hand. Next, the spirit host will move up and block in the legionary that just picked up the treasure, and then attack in, hitting on 5s and deals out a couple damage to the treasure bearer. The armator will then go and use the double 1s for the onslaught ability and attack into that annoying briar queen. Hitting on 5s, the dwarf pushes through in 9 damage, and she is getting close to passing on. And let's not forget about the terrain. On a 1, the dwarf takes damage, and nothing happens. This will then grant one of the stalkers to use their 2-inch range and attack into the nearby legionary, hitting on 5s, and pushes in 3 points of damage. The legionary that was just poked by a ghost will try and attempt to take down the queen. She will boost up her attacks with the onslaught ability, hitting on 5s, and pushes in 2 more damage, but that is not enough to take down the Nighthaunt leader. To follow this up, the other stalker will stab into the legionary that poked their leader, once again hitting on 5s, and pushes in 4 damage, which is also not enough to take down another model. Now that all the close combat is complete for the round, I'll speed things up a bit and start moving all of these models. Despite the fact that I'm moving them out of activation order here does not really matter, as they have no way to interact with the other fighters on the battlefield. There are also a number of doubles left for each side, which will be used for the rush ability for the Spirit Host, Ogre Breacher, and the Drill Master, so they get a little bit of a bonus to their double move. A few of these models also ended their turn near terrain, and on a 1 they take damage. The Ogre Breacher unfortunately does take 3 damage, but the Spirit Host does not. After all these moves are complete, this ends Battle Round 2. The Iron Golems leader has been taken down by the Nighthaunt, and all the forces are closing in. The treasure has traded hands into the most unexpected hands, the Legionary. If the Iron Golems hold the treasure through Battle Round 3, they win the game. We now move on to Round 3 Initiative. The Iron Golems start first and roll up their 66, getting a double and 4 singles. And for the Nighthaunt, well, what do you know? They copied them. This means a roll-off, and the Iron Golems win it. They feel that they are forced to add a single here to keep the initiative, while the Nighthaunt will take this opportunity to add a second double. With this, we begin Battle Round 3. The Treasure Bearer is first, and he is getting out of dodge. He will use the disengage action and run up and away towards the Drill Master, hoping to stay away from the monsters. The Spirit Host that was next to the Bearer will move over and follow its prey and attack in, hitting on 5s and deals 5 damage, but that's not enough to kill the Legionary outright. This causes the Ogre Breacher to go on the defensive and tie up the other Spirit Host. He will move up, stay outside of that terrain, and then attack in, hitting on 3s and deals in a casual 12 damage. With tying this fighter up, the Nighthaunt have some tough decisions in front of them. One of the Stalkers will use the double 5 for the rush ability and attack into the Treasure Bearer, hitting on 5s and whiffs on everything. That is not good. It is now time for the Armator to attempt to take down the Briar Queen, hitting on 5s and deals enough damage to take out the spooky leader. He will then use his short stubby legs to move up and attempt to block any future stalkers flying in towards the treasure. Now, with the Nighthaunt leader dying, I'll give you a little overview of the board state. With the Armator being able to move up and block any future Nighthaunt models from moving up and attacking into the Treasure Bearer, and the Nighthaunt only have a couple activations left, the Ghosts see no way that they can steal the treasure from the Iron Golems by the end of the battle round. This means they will forfeit, and victory will be had by the Iron Golems. A quick but fun game today, and of course it came down to a little legionary holding the treasure. These little guys are weak, but they can definitely defend themselves pretty well, and especially against the Nighthaunt. The Ghosts can move like the wind all over the board, but they rely on getting critical hits because against that hard armor of the Iron Golems, they were always hitting on 5s. I wonder if the roles were reversed this battle, if the Nighthaunt would have had an easier time being the defender. Ah well, maybe another time. I thought both sides did very well this battle, and I hope you, the viewer, enjoyed this battle report. Until next time, folks, thank you all for watching, and of course, happy gaming.